I'm mostly involved with the software development, but either function can be outsourced, nearshore, offshore. Because we used to have a team in Eastern Europe who we had to ship hardware to. But right now, I'm mostly dealing with the cloud computing. So there's nothing to send other than development laptops.
Hello, everybody. Today we have a special guest. We're going to be talking with VP of Digital Platforms for CAT, Tony Belkin, on a hot subject we get a lot of questions about, IT outsourcing. Thanks, Tony, for making some time today.
Mhm. Thank
Well,
you.
we'll start right in with the first question. What is your attitude regarding IT outsourcing?
Well, let's there's two. Well, you need to break up IT first. There is IT kind of infrastructure work, which is more of the support function, and the other one is software development. I'm mostly involved with the software development, but either function can be outsourced, nearshore, offshore. It just needs to be structured properly.
I see.
It's been a reality for the past 30 years. So.
In your opinion, are there some tasks or jobs that are better to outsource or to keep in-house?
Well, I might have a more conservative view on this one. I think that all functional critical tasks must be owned by the company, whether the actual work is done completely or partially by the vendors. It depends on the area. The only parts you want to completely outsource is the ones we have no competitive competence in, or you can just, or we're winding down a lot of projects, so they're just running before they die. Those are perfect for outsourcing.
Which countries or regions would you consider advisable to outsource IT development and support?
Well, it really depends on the skills and what kind of work you need to do. We're using nearshoring in Latin America and South America. We're using nearshoring in Eastern Europe, and we're offshoring, India, China, other places. It really, again, depends where you have the skills and where you can find the right people.
I see. So when it comes to determining what region is more suitable for outsourcing, it really comes down to skills and availability in those regions.
Yes, and the model of work. For example, you can outsource, you can, give the entire chunk of deliverable to the vendor, or you can have vendor participate as part of your team doing code development. If you're doing code development, and at least in US, being in Latin America or South America and Eastern Europe, time advantages, you can have pretty large time overlaps with the team. If you cannot do that, then you probably go offloading entire functions, and those are less expensive and better outsourced to China, India.
I
But
see.
by the way, we use the same approach for our internal work, not just for outsourcing. We have teams in all those locations. That's how we decide where to distribute work.
I see. Okay. Have you had any experience with outsourcing to companies such as the Ukraine, Poland, Slovakia?
Yeah, we are using a lot of it now, and Romania and former Soviet Union. We're all over that.
From a quality perspective, have you had any issues with those countries?
Well, we started back outsourcing to that area in the sort of mid 90s. And at the time, it was great. Then their prices went through the roof when a lot of security software was outsourced out east. So we kind of stopped. And last round, we're doing it again. The pricing is good. The experience of people is really good. You're getting probably for maybe half, two and a half less price, somebody with maybe 5 to 10 years more experience. So
I,
we've been very successful with that. We have a pretty large contingent. Again, this is mostly team extension, where we have a Scrum team in US. Maybe out of 8 people, you may have 2 or 3 employees, maybe 1 or 2 contractors in US, and maybe 3 to 4 people near shore.
Could you describe the opportunities or challenges of working with IT vendors from Eastern Europe?
Well, the biggest problem for us been getting them laptops, especially in some countries. It's very hard to ship to because we have our IT organizations very anal about security, so they want to make sure we provide our secured machines and getting them to the right place, to the right person, and then repair them. That's been probably the biggest challenge. We do have VDI or screen sharing type technology. It's not always effective for some development.
I see.
That's probably the biggest challenge. Other than that, it's been working great. In fact, we started a long cycle of converting some of those people, trying to get them H-1Bs or permission to work in Europe and bring them as employees because they're really good.
Well, that's really good to hear.
Yep.
Any
We,
nuance?
it actually COVID helped us a lot because all the teams thought they need to be co-located because of partially because of the tools, partially because it was a perception. So all the teams were local to Chicago, Peoria, Denver, wherever we have locations. And now with COVID, everybody being remote, we started experimenting with the remote people near shore. That just worked out great, and we just continued growing in that area.
Isn't that interesting? So a sort of a side benefit to something that was,
Yeah. No. We kind of all suspected it's going to be like that. Plus, tools improved. A lot of the teams improvements were made so people can be in and out very easily and not miss a beat. So that was actually a good part of that.
it's excellent. What are any nuances in working with outsourcing teams, um, including time zones and cultural differences?
Well, up front, we require at least 5 to 6 hours of overlap per day, and it hasn't been an issue most of the time. Some people object, so they don't join us. The other part is finding the right vendor because part of the issue was to train the vendor to do better selectivity, so we don't spend a lot of time interviewing people. And it took us about maybe 6 months to tune the process. By now, we probably have, I want to say, 70% accept rate from people that recommend.
I know you just mentioned you like to have 5 to 6 hours a day of overlap, and for security reasons
For core development.
for core developers, and you also like
No,
to,
I mean for people who do core development.
yes.
If we offshoring work, then it doesn't really matter. If they have the whole piece of software, then they can do whatever they need to do.
Any other tips on how you effectively manage teams from different time zones and cultural backgrounds?
No, not really. It's actually been working really well. We've been doing it for a long time, and it's working great.
What challenges would you say companies from the US typically face when they're outsourcing development?
Well, again, outsourcing, depending on the model, is the problem. The biggest problem with the outsourcing entire piece of work, you lose control. A lot of people think they're going to keep technical person in house and the outsourcing team vendor doing all the outsourcing work, and it works maybe for say first year. But then if you're not developing, if you're not learning the problems, if you're not getting deep into the stuff, you get obsolete. In about 3 to 5 years, you have no idea what software you've got. So you need to have some good participation and good learning. Now, there's certain software where it doesn't matter, and it's okay. Or it's a more operational software, which is kind of more like workflow management stuff. It's okay. You can outsource it, and we use it judiciously.
I see. From I guess turning it around, if you were to talk to other US companies, what benefits would you say they could derive from outsourcing IT development?
Well, I look at one department under me last year, and in 2 years of co-development of Eastern Europe, we reduced price per head by 30%.
That's
Simply by growing in Eastern Europe and maybe backfilling some of the contractor. We had really high contractor turnover in US maybe 2 years ago. So we started backfilling them with one or two people in Eastern Europe, and our price went to, significantly. It wasn't really a goal at the time. It was a goal just to keep things going, but results were really good.
price number one. Anything else?
Price number one, and I think if I look there are areas with really good talent. If you're doing core development, if you're doing embedded, if you're doing OS, if you're doing cloud, there are different places who have a lot of expertise in the area. I would not, for example, go in this model with people requiring hardware. You need sizable team to justify that. Because we used to have a team in Eastern Europe who we had to ship hardware to. And part of the time it was, the with customs and other stuff, it's been very hard to get hardware in and out. Then you have to destroy it because it makes it complicated. But right now I'm mostly dealing with the cloud computing. So there's nothing to send other than development laptops. So we're looking good.
Right. Okay. What advice would you offer to U.S. companies seeking resources for software development or support?
Well, any company who wants to do software development has to have their own development core. They really want to be good at it and they want to be effective at it. And I mean, obviously, there are vendors coming in, offering them turnkey solutions, but then you end up grossly, I guess, grossly overpaying for that because they are set up to make money and not to make you successful. So for people who don't have any software backbone, you got to find trusted supplier. People who have software backbone in their company, you just need to be very strategic about what you're bringing vendors in and what you own. Yeah, at
Uh,
Caterpillar 5-6 years ago, we were heavily dependent on vendors and where they actually own pieces and people internally had little view on software. Now, even when we outsource to the vendors, we're still involved in development, code reviews, design reviews. So we're not just letting them run and look at the test results.
that makes sense. And I guess what tips then would you offer to companies to successfully organize the outsourcing process to achieve the best results?
Hire even small internal core software teams who kind of know what they're doing and take it from there. Do not let, I mean, many companies have IT departments, outsource software development. That's typically problematic. I mean, if you need to customize teams or other stuff, sure. But if you want to do some serious development, especially which your business depends on, I would not approach it that way.
Any final thoughts in terms of IT outsourcing? Any information you'd like to provide anybody else out there?
The teams in different countries have different ambitions, and they need to understand them. Because especially doing some rotation, we had a lot of people which have in India, so it's very attractive hourly rate that you get over there. But you got to build the team, and you can't just randomly grab the people. If you want to today, for us to add a person to our sizable team, so over 1,000 people just in my organization, and it takes 5 or 6 months to get the person on board. We are very heavily into college recruiting over in India, but we do have critical mass. If you're trying to get into contracting, like temporary, third-party labor in India, the talent is pretty low. So we mostly go with the statement of work kind of labor because they have much better talent. But that's India. In other places, you have different intricacies. So you need to understand that space.
I see. And I guess I probably should have asked you this up front, and when we edit this, we'll put it up front. But could
Sure.
you could you give our listeners sort of a quick overview of your role at CAT?
Sure. Yeah, I've been at CAT about 6 years now, and I was brought in to before we came, there was a lot of, again, outsourcing culture. There was two problems. One, it was a lot of vendors owned the code for years, for dozens of years. And anytime we need to make something, it costs us an arm and a leg. The second problem, each application was developed as a full stack. So every application team had to go acquire data, cleanse it in the way they want to, and then build services, build consumption layer, build the application, and then we'll give it to the same dealer, same customers. And eventually it blew up where they're saying, one of the dealers can nail one of our senior managers and says, well, these both of your application, they give me conflicting data, which one is right? So they wanted to fix it, so we built the data and services platform, and we migrated lots of applications on it. We've shut down, saved a lot of money, shut down a lot of applications, improved quality, improved scalability. It was good, so I'm responsible for that.
Excellent. Well,
Sure.
got a lot of experience in this end of the business, that's for sure. All
Yeah,
right.
it's been good.
I really, really we appreciate your time today, Tony.
Sure.
All these questions and answers are really good information to have, and I know there's a lot of people out there that'll be interested to hear it.
Yeah, understood. Glad to help.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Stuart.
All right. Have a
All
great
right.
day. Have a good weekend, Tony. Very nice meeting you again.